Well, hey folks, today we're going to talk about throwing downhill. And should you throw something like this or something like this? And we're going to talk about it right after the intro. All right, here's the scenario, guys. I'm on hole 18 at Inverness. The basket's sitting down there 229 feet across the creek. And I have seen more people step up to this hole, especially folks that may be beginning with disc golf or maybe an older player, folks that don't throw that far. And they will come up to this hole. Let's say their average long distance drive is 250 feet, okay? And this is 229. And they're like, man, that's kind of the end of my range, getting to the end of my range, so I need to throw a faster driver to get there. And then what they will proceed to do, and this is just an insanity. Now it's one of those old super overstable insanities. And so I'm using it to help overemphasize what happens. They come up and they think, I've got to throw this almost to the end of my distance. So I'm gonna do this. And they don't even come close. As a matter of fact, that's about 150 feet, but it's about 75 feet left. What happened? Well, most folks don't think about, especially elevation changes like this, they don't think about following the terrain. Because let's face it, most folks struggle with throwing nose up. So what happens if I throw nose up here, just like I showed you? I'm throwing out, it's going up, and it's traveling its normal distance. So if 250 is my end distance, if I'm throwing that straight out with a little nose up, it may be going 200 feet before it runs out of steam and then just has to fade off. Even if it wasn't super overstable, you're having to throw that full distance to get there. So yeah, you have to club up. But you don't have to club up. You have to take advantage of the terrain, the fact that you're going downhill. Use what's there. Think about it this way. If I had a skateboard and this was a smooth road down to that basket, how hard would I have to push the skateboard to get it to the basket? Not very, because it's just going to want to pick up speed and that inertia is just going to carry it right to the basket. Whereas if this was flat ground and I had to get it to the basket on flat ground, 225 feet, how hard would I have to push that skateboard? I would have to rip that skateboard to get it to go, because it would be all under my power to get it there. But we're not using all of my power to get it to a basket that's 35 feet below me. I'm using the hill to carry the disc down there. So you're cheating yourself if you throw, even if you throw flat, but you're especially cheating yourself if you're throwing up, because what you're doing is you're throwing uphill, you're losing the battle with distance and gravity, and then it's gonna die off even more. So you're at neutral, but a negative neutral in a sense if you're throwing flat. If I'm throwing flat out here, it's still got to go all the way to 229 feet. The problem is when it gets to 229 feet, it's still 45 feet above the basket. It's got to go somewhere. It's got to drop off, okay? And I'm talking left-handed, you can switch over to right-handed. The whole instance is that when it gets to the end of its run, with end of your power, it's got to fade off, it's going to die. Unless you tap into the power of gravity. Unless you put it, and I tell people all the time, follow the terrain. I'm acting as if when I throw it, I'm putting it on the road to slide down the hill right to the bottom of the basket. And if I can think about it as a road and I'm throwing a skateboard instead of a disc, I don't have to crank it. I've just got to make sure I put it on the right angle to get it to slide down the road. So here I've got a couple mid-ranges. So the problem with them, the problem is if you're not used to this, even a mid-range can be problematic because you can throw too far. Watch this. I'm not going to throw hard, but I'm going to put nose down. Oh, was a little low, but it was gonna, if it had hit the ground, it would have shot 40, 50 feet past the basket. That's the problem with when you do access the speed, it's coming in hot. Let me try that again. I'm just gonna take a hex and I'm just gonna throw this right at the basket. I'm gonna try to keep this nice and low. Have I told you I hate that tree? Did you see? I threw that nice and easy, and if it hadn't hit the tree, it would have been 40, 50 feet past the basket. And I'm not throwing full power. I'm trying to emulate somebody that throws about 250. If I were to take this T-bird, you know, I've seen people do this. I'm gonna throw this as if I'm not thinking about that, but I'm gonna throw it down. And I'm trying to, let's see what happens if I throw my T-bird. Okay, the basket got in the way. Dang it, I hate when that happens. If it had missed the basket, now I wish it had gone in because that would have been even better, but hit the cage. If it had missed the basket, it would have skipped, gone up in the road. It would have been 100 feet past the basket. Because, does that make sense? You're taking advantage of gravity. It's speeding up. That's why I've talked about, go check out my other video about throwing downhill. That's why you tend to, when you throw a disc, if it's understable, it's gonna keep turning. That's why a lot of times, well, we're not gonna get into that right now, but the disc is speeding up, so you get more high-speed turn, but it's just boogieing down there. So you actually, a lot of times, you need to club down and throw something slower just to take advantage of the ride, but not go blowing by it. So that's where, for this hole, I used to throw a mid-range, and I kept ending up almost to the road. But the problem is, I kept going past the basket. So now I take advantage of the speed going downhill, and I throw the slowest disc I have, and I just make sure to get it. I'm aiming at the bottom of the basket. And even with that, it was nice and straight. I didn't even go to the basket, but it hit the ground still coming in hot. But it wasn't gonna take me as far. But did you see, I didn't have to throw that hard. Let me try another one. Nice and easy, take advantage. Match the slope of the hill. Ooh, oh, it still climbed up. But do you notice the disc is just traveling, it's just cruising on down there. It's not about power downhill. Take advantage, follow the terrain. Uh-oh, I threw that too high. So what that's gonna do, it's still taking advantage some, but then it's gonna fade off. But yep, I even cranked that. I almost threw it in the tube behind it. Uphill is a completely different story, but downhill, it's more about regulating the speed than trying to throw hard. Get the right nose angle and just let it cruise on down there. Yep, right by the basket. And that's just with the Berg. Yep, just right by the basket. And one more time. Can you see? I'm not throwing hard. I'm just, if it was surfing, I'm trying to ride the crest, ride the wave down. So guys, when you've got an elevation issue, take advantage of it. When you're throwing downhill, ride the wave, follow the terrain to get that extra distance if you need it. But then be aware that if you catch it, you might go a little bit farther by it. There you go. I hope that gives you another aha moment about what happens when elevation comes into play. You don't have to throw hard. Just make sure you don't throw nose up, because nose up is the killer. You want to throw down, follow the terrain. There you go, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Check out my Patreon channel, all that good stuff. We're just doing this disc golf together. I love disc golf, and I want you to love it too. And we're just going to go along and do what we can. And I hope to see you out on the course.